Facilitation is engagement, inhibition is disengagement. Neutrality is transition. To tie all of these terms into what we've covered in the previous chapters, as we have a stronger gravitational pull to the right side, we struggle to inhibit/disengage/turn off the muscles that keep us in right stance or our center of mass on the right side of our body. Therefore, we struggle to facilitate, engage, or turn on the muscles that shift our center of mass onto our left, which is termed left stance. Achieving left stance requires, at a minimum, the facilitation of the muscles that create internal rotation of the left rib cage and the left pelvis. Typical gym programs don't address this need, as most exercises are too bilateral, reinforcing imbalances rather than helping the body shift its center of mass effectively from one side to the other. If I have my right rib cage in more internal rotation and my left in external, and then I'm doing a barbell bench press, a squat, a deadlift, we are actually just creating that pattern to be reinforced, as we are not just going to magically internally rotate the left rib cage, because all of the muscles that create internal rotation of the left rib cage and the pelvis are neurally dormant. We need an approach that considers the unique needs of each side of the body for every individual. If a muscle contracts, this changes the position of our skeletal system. When the skeleton is neutral, muscles are not continuously engaged, which therefore allows our bones to move within their natural range of motion. Therefore, with the tests, if we see limitation, what this means is particular muscles are struggling to be inhibited. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate an adduction drop test. I have a friend that has kindly let me use him for this. The thing that we're going to identify is if his skeletal system is neutral. If it isn't, it's going to be shown within the result of this test. So an adduction drop test, in simple terms, is just figuring out if his pelvis is stuck in an anterior pelvic tilt. If it is, what we'll see is limitation as to how well his leg can drop down to the ground. If it drops down to the ground, this means that his pelvis isn't stuck forward, it's in a state of neutrality. So the muscles are off. This is what we want. If we see limitation with any of these practical tests, I know we're only just doing one for example's sake, so you have a better understanding as to what I'm talking about, but with all of these tests, if we have limitation, this means that muscle does not want to be turned off. So we need to be able to do exercises that facilitate opposite muscles that are going to then inhibit that chain. You're never going to be able to turn off a chain of muscle with a stretch or with a massage or with a pill or even surgery. We need to be able to facilitate the other muscle that hasn't been doing the job. So with this test, I'm going to be grabbing the top of Tim's pelvis, and I'm going to be lifting it up and then bringing it back. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get him in a straight line where he's in extension, but it's not here, it's not all the way back here, it's just in a neutral state. I'm going to see if it can drop down to the ground. Because his leg can drop down to the ground, this means that he is in a state of neutrality. So muscles are not staying turned on. For the purpose of this video, we're just going to do an example of what someone will be if they have limitation. They may not even be able to get back into this tone of extension. And then when I try and push it down, it just gets stuck. I can't actually pop it down. So this is going to be how we find out what particular facilitation we need to be able to provide for a client, and as well as that, what inhibition in order for us to achieve neutrality. That is the first goal within anyone's rehabilitation or path to optimal performance. We need to be able to get them in the ability to be able to shift between each side. And a byproduct of that is the ability to be in a state of neutrality. When we achieve better internal rotation of the rib cage, this also creates a more optimal zone of apposition. The next chapter is going to take a deep dive as to the importance of the zone of apposition and why pain can never be fully addressed if we don't actually achieve a zone of apposition in the first place. I'll see you in the next one. If you found value in this chapter, or you can at least take the first step to finally breaking down the root cause of your pain, there's someone else that would feel the same way too. For the 2 seconds it takes to show this to a friend or family in exchange for the years it took me to make this as clean and efficient as it was, this is the best way to give back within this community. And it would mean the absolute world to me, because everyone deserves to know this about their own body. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next chapter.